Picture this. A routine Tuesday morning in Washington, D.C. C-SPAN cameras rolling lazily, expecting another boring ethics hearing. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected what was about to unfold. What started as a simple discussion about charitable foundations ended with Ivanka Trump visibly cracking under pressure, a room full of stunned lawmakers, and evidence so damning that it's still sending shockwaves through the political world. This is a story of how Representative Jasmine Crockett walked into that hearing room with 3 manila folders and single-handedly changed everything. It was supposed to be routine. Ivanka Trump had agreed to appear voluntarily. Rare for someone who usually avoided Capitol Hill like plague. She strutted in at 9 a.m. sharp, wearing a muted navy suit, hair perfectly straight, lips pressed into what wasn't quite a smile. She was there to defend the Trump Foundation's relaunch, talking about children and workforce development. Standard political theater, right? But in the far left corner of that semicircle sat Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas. While other lawmakers scrolled their phones and nodded absently, Jasmine sat perfectly still, flipping through a manila folder like it was just another stack of documents. The only tell? Every few seconds, she tapped her pen against her desk. Slow, deliberate, like a countdown nobody was paying attention to. For 20 minutes, Ivanka delivered her polished remarks, smooth as silk, talking about impact and legacy and responsible giving. The room was practically asleep. Then Jasmine raised her hand. "Mr. Chairman," she said, her voice cutting through the drowsy atmosphere like a blade. Chairman Halbridge frowned. "Ms. Crockett, we'll allow statements to finish." "I won't take long," Jasmine replied, standing up with the calm of someone who knows they're holding dynamite and doesn't need to shout to be heard. But the committee needs to be aware of certain undisclosed connections relevant to today's topic. Ivanka blinked. "Hard. I'd like to submit for the record," Jasmine continued, "a series of encrypted messages recovered from a private server tied to the Trump family's communications between 2018 and 2021. The temperature in that room dropped 10 degrees instantly. Jasmine held up message headers like she was presenting evidence in a murder trial. These communications suggest frequent off-the-record meetings between Ivanka Trump and her father, meetings that overlap with budget discussions on education, health policy, and foreign contracts. None appear in official White House logs. A ripple ran through the room. Phones started buzzing. Someone from Ivanka's team leaned forward, whispering frantically. And Ivanka, for the first time, her mask slipped, her jaw worked slightly, the first crack in that perfect facade. "This is a lie," she said, voice clipped. Jasmine tilted her head. "Would you like to deny it under oath?" "I said it's a lie, and frankly disgusting. But here's the thing, and this is crucial." Ivanka's voice cracked just a little on that last word. "Not with facts, not with documentation, with emotion, with defensiveness." That's when everyone knew this wasn't going to be routine anymore. Jasmine wasn't done, not even close. She slid forward a second folder, this one marked with a single black dot. The room held its breath as she pulled out a single printed message. This communication is dated July 17, 2019, 4 days before the administration quietly adjusted tax allocation for charter school programs. The message reads, and I quote, "Let's have our meeting early. He doesn't want anyone else in the room. Same place. He said it's better when it's just the two of us." Gasps echoed from the gallery. Jasmine didn't flinch. This message was sent from Ivanka Trump's encrypted account to the internal West Wing network, cross-referenced with travel logs. She flew into Milwaukee the same morning Donald Trump held a closed-door fundraiser. No public record exists of their meeting. Ivanka sat up straighter. "That message is completely out of context. You're fabricating intent." "I'm quoting your words," Jasmine said plainly. "Nothing more. I'm asking why policy moved quietly days after these meetings." The room was electric now. Cameras zoomed in. This wasn't political theater anymore. This was a reckoning. But Jasmine had saved the best for last. She pulled out photographs, GPS metadata, hotel records, surveillance footage. One image showed Ivanka stepping out of the Intercontinental in Austin at 11:34 p.m., flanked by security that wasn't her official detail. Behind her, a man in a black coat. Later confirmed to be there during a private lobbying dinner 2 nights before a critical infrastructure bill was altered. Another photo, Ivanka and Donald Trump leaving the back entrance of a private estate in Naples, Florida. 2 weeks later, FEMA funding was slashed and redirected to a private company whose CEO owned that exact estate. Each piece of evidence built on the last. Flight logs, encrypted messages, hotel staff reports, elevator access records. All time-stamped, all verified. This isn't about catching someone in a lie, Jasmine said, her voice steady as steel. It's about showing that the people with the most influence are the ones most shielded from scrutiny. That shield shouldn't exist. Then something extraordinary happened. Republican Representative Vincent Renner from Idaho, a guy who never spoke up, never made waves, clicked his microphone on. "I support the motion for a formal review," he said. "If there's nothing to hide, then nothing should be feared." Ivanka looked at him like he'd slapped her. "Are you serious? You're legitimizing a smear campaign." "I'm saying facts deserve sunlight," Renner replied calmly. That's when it hit everyone watching. This wasn't partisan politics anymore. This was about accountability. Even Republicans were stepping away from the fence. Within hours, Crockett versus Ivanka was trending with 5 million views. News outlets that had dismissed a hearing that morning were suddenly running breaking news alerts. But here's the kicker. Jasmine didn't do a single interview. No victory laps. No press conferences. She let the facts speak for themselves, and that silence made her louder than any soundbite ever could. Meanwhile, Ivanka canceled public appearances. Her team scrambled for damage control. Former White House staffers started reaching out to Jasmine's office, wanted to share information confidentially. The machine had started turning, and there was no stopping it. 3 days later, Jasmine sat on a wooden bench outside a community center in Texas, talking to college students. No cameras, no prepared remarks, just truth. A student asked her, "How did you know they wouldn't just shut you down?" Jasmine looked at him and said something that still gives me chills. I didn't know if I'd be cut off, if they'd smear me the next day, but what I did know was that I had to say it anyway, because if we keep letting fear write the rules, nothing ever changes. Here's what Jasmine Crockett proved that day. Power is only dangerous when no one asks where it's been. She walked into that room as one person with 3 folders, and she walked out having reminded an entire nation that accountability isn't negotiable, not for elected officials, not for their family members, not for anyone. The truth has a strange way of showing up, not all at once, but in pieces. And when someone's trying to hide something, even their pauses feel loud. So ask the hard questions, even when you're scared, even when they tell you it's the wrong time, even when they say you don't belong in the room. Ask anyway, because you never know how far one good question can echo.